What has become of this world, or what is wrong with this generation, are commonly asked questions by parents and grandparents. Every time a television is turned on or a newspaper is picked up, the news is full of articles about young people robbing others, doing drugs, getting into fights, and having sex. Things the older generation rarely saw. So why does this generation act like violence and crime is such a casual thing? The thing that has changed since our parents and grandparents were kids is television. Children can be exposed to many things through television. What is allowed on television today is much less censored than it was years ago. There's much more references to sex, drugs, and violence in television shows. But can what your child watch on television actually make them behave a certain way or do something they know is wrong? Will they actually try to be like the characters they watch? Research says yes. You most likely know a child who watches superhero shows or is allowed to watch whatever they please. But have you ever sat down and observed what's on these shows? These children who watch superhero shows are exposed to the good guy trying to kill or destroy the bad guy. According to Yahoo.com in the article Violence on TV, children cannot distinguish reality from fiction until 8 years old. So what kind of message is this giving to those children? After watching these shows, most children think they are a superhero or the good guy, so what do? They beat up or try to get rid of the bad guy, which in a child's imagination could be anyone, good or bad. In this speech, I would like to explain to you how the research shows that television should be monitored, what the long-term effects of not monitoring your child's television can have on your child, and what steps you can take to make sure your child is watching appropriate television. There has been many studies on the effect television can have on children. According to kidshealth.org and the article How Television Affects Your Child, by the time your child is 18, they have witnessed at least 200,000 violent acts on television. With violence on television this common, it is just natural for children to think it is normal. In these shows, characters are shown drinking and smoking, so once again, these children are seeing a bad behavior on television, but their favorite characters are doing it, so they start to think that it is acceptable to engage in these behaviors. There was a famous experiment conducted by Albert Bandura in 1961 and again in 1963 that has to do with violence on television. It is known as the Bobo doll experiment. In this experiment, 48 girls and 48 boys were used. Half of the children watched a video in which an adult played nicely with the Bobo doll. The other half were shown a video where the adult was aggressive and mean to the doll. The children who were shown the video of the adult playing nicely also played nice. The half that was shown the violent film abused the doll and hurt the doll just as the adults did. The thing Bandura did not expect was the children who watched the violent film did not just hurt the doll as the adults did, but actually found new ways of hurting the doll, using other toys as weapons. According to the article TV and Your Child on brainychild.com, some children see so much violence on television they actually cannot feel sorry for someone who is suffering or in pain in real life. There are many different long-term effects television can have on your child, but here are a few of the worst. The New Media Foundation's website released an article that said children who are exposed to violent television for years can eventually crave violence, and the children who see violence in the media every day can build an immune to the violence, where at some point the violence isn't enough, so they actually seek violence in real life. Children who are exposed to a lot of violence are also more likely to grow up with more anxiety than children who weren't exposed to violence on television. These children also have a more gloomy view of the world and are more likely to think of the world as a mean place. In the New Media Foundation's article, they also stated that children who watched a lot of violence on television are more vulnerable to factors such as drugs, poverty, and gun usage. Does this speech have you wondering, what can I do to make sure my child is watching appropriate television? If it does, here are a few suggestions. The most important thing you can do as a parent or grandparent is make sure what your child is watching is age appropriate. Almost all TV shows and movies have a rating. I found rating information on televisionwatch.org and the article Television Tools for Parents 101 and found there are special television shows for young children. These shows have a Y rating, meaning it is appropriate for any age. The best television for young audience is PBS. They offer many age-appropriate shows in which the child is actually learning something, not just being entertained. Another way you can control what your children are watching is blocking channels. With all the new technology, there is actually a way to block certain channels. By doing this, it is impossible to access these channels without a passcode. If you are interested in learning more about blocking channels, contact your cable or satellite provider. According to the article Monitoring the Media, by not letting your children have a television in their bedroom can also help monitor what your children are watching. Choosing what time of the day your children watch television is also useful because more educational and age-appropriate shows come on in the morning, and worse, more violent and sexual shows come on at night. Thinking back on before I gave this speech, has your opinion on monitoring your child's television changed? I always hear people say, I hate to see my child grow up in a world with so much violence, sex, and crime. So why don't we change the world we're living in? The solution's simple. Monitor what your child watches on TV. Today, I have informed you on research showing why your child's television should be monitored, what the long-term effects of not monitoring your television can have on your child, and what you can do to ensure your child is watching appropriate television. With this information I presented today, hopefully you will all go home and put my words into action.